Welcome into the show. This is the San Francisco 49ers Report. Chase Senior hanging out here with you. And coming up on the show, we're going to open up the floor. We're going to take your questions. We're going to do a mailbag. I always love chopping it up with the faithful. And, of course, there's a lot to talk about going into this game between the Niners and the Seahawks on Saturday night. But I want to gauge how everybody's feeling here. Do you think the Niners can pull off the upset as touchdown underdogs? If you think SAN-FRAN-CISCO can take down Seattle, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. I want at least 1,000 likes here on today's show. Let's start taking your questions here. Ryan Rodriguez, Sam Darnold added to the injury report with an oblique injury. What does that mean for the Seahawks? Obviously, this is a big one for the Seahawks going into this game. Of note, Sam Darnold did say on Thursday that he thinks he's going to be able to play in this game, but the Seahawks were on the practice field and he was running across it and he was putting that massage gun on his side. He was just throwing against air earlier in the week and felt something in that oblique. And so Drew Lock is his backup. He's gotten some reps with the starters. Sam Darnold, I'd be shocked if he doesn't play in this game. And the Seahawks, outside of that, pretty well rested coming off that bye week, but an oblique injury with the quarterback, you think about how much you have to use that midsection and the oblique to throw the ball as a quarterback. Now, the Niners are dead last in the NFL in sacks. They're second to last, I believe, in pressure percentage among the 32 teams. But if they can get a hit on Sam Darnold, how does that affect the oblique injury? Definitely a big story going into this one. Niner faithful, Jake Tonches, Kyle Juszczyk, or Ricky Pearsall. Which one is key on Saturday? I think all of them are important. I think Kyle Juszczyk has a bigger role without George Kittle. I think the same can be said for Jake Tonches having obviously a larger role because he actually plays the tight end position. But the biggest key in this game, outside of Trent Williams, Christian McCaffrey, and Brock Purdy, you can throw Kyle Shanahan in there as well, is Ricky Pearsall. If Ricky Pearsall could play in this game, it changes the dynamic of this 49ers offense. Because he's such a good route runner. He can catch crossers. He can take the top off of the defense. He can get vertical. He's slippery. He can pick up yards after the catch. He's really difficult to defend because of the start-stop suddenness to his game. So if you get Ricky Pearsall back on the field, he had over 100 yards against the Seahawks defense in week 1. It gives Brock Purdy in the pass game such a great weapon. And he's a really good player. He just needs to stay healthy. Jerry, up next. Coaches in the playoffs shouldn't be able to interview or take a job until the season is over for them. I kind of agree, but it's almost impossible to avoid, right? Because you have 7 teams from the NFC that make the playoffs, 7 teams in the AFC. That's 14 of 32 teams. For all of those other teams who don't make the playoffs, they need to get a head start on the upcoming season. And if you're looking for a head coach, you'd love to get that coach in place. Because after the Super Bowl, NFL Combine is at the end of February. Then you have NFL free agency start the second week of March. Then you have the NFL Draft at the end of April. Right after that, rookie minicamp. Right after that, OTAs. You have some time off. Then you have mandatory minicamp, some time off. Then you're back at it in training camp. So what do you expect all the other teams to do who are looking for head coaches? Could there be a better process? Yeah, maybe. But it's just part of it, right? And this is what you get when you make it into the playoffs. Your executives will get poached. Your head coaches will garner some interest, and sometimes they will get poached. I do like how Robert Saleh has done his process. You know, he's going to interview with Miami and Arizona prior to taking on the Seahawks on Saturday night. But then he's doing a lot of his interviews after the Seahawks game on Saturday night. And I wish the best for Robert Saleh. He isn't doing interviews until very late in the week. By this point, he's done a lot of his prep work on Seattle. You also have an entire staff who devotes time into game preparations. But I definitely understand. It could be worse. It could be like college football where some of these players are playing in the college football playoff, but then they leave their teams because of the transfer portal, and they have to decide where they're going because of the schedule of the transfer portal. That's an even worse process. Or Lane Kiffin, his team makes it into the college football playoff. He has to take the LSU job because he has no other choice, because signing day happened right after he signed that deal with LSU. But I definitely understand your frustrations. John Wallace, knowing how Garrett Wallow and Eric Kendricks played and how in tune they were, would you say that going back to D. Winters this season, who's been up and down, would be a wise move? Wallow had 11 tackles. I know that everybody easily obsesses over athleticism for football players, and this can be at any position, and watching somebody run really quickly is entertaining. But there's also something to be said for having instincts, having feel, having football smarts, being able to read, recognize, and diagnose plays, right? And I thought that Kendricks and Wallow did a really good job of that against the Eagles. They are not the athlete that D. Winters is. D. Winters flies around like he's shot out of a cannon. But with that, sometimes you can over-pursue, you can miss tackles. And in Week 18 for the Niners defense, they missed 18 tackles against the Seahawks. Against the Eagles, they were much better in making those tackles. I mean, you look at the numbers of Eric Kendricks. This is a guy who's been in the league for 10 years. 9 straight years of over 100 tackles. You can see why he's been in the league so long. Such a smart player. So D. Winters, good year this year, but definitely some ups and downs. Like, he had 101 tackles. He had 8 TFLs. He made some highlight reel-worthy plays. He had the pick 6 of Phillip Rivers. I imagine a pretty cool moment for him. But there were times, too, where he got lost in coverage, or sometimes he would overrun a play, unable to throttle down. So Kendricks, Wallow helped save the season against the Eagles in the wild card round, and they're going to get a lot of time going up against Seattle on Saturday night. Speaking of Seattle, I linked up with our design guy, Arnold, and we decided to make some F Seattle shirts. Get yours now. This is for this week, but this is for the offseason. It's for the in-season. It's anytime the Niners play the Seahawks. Chatsports.com/FSeattle. Couple of versions here. We have one version of the Niners mascot, Sourdough Sam, choking out the Seahawks mascot with F Seattle on the bottom. You have this black shirt, the red shirt that we showed you with the gold text. Chatsports.com/FSeattle. We've had a lot of people buy some of these, and we really appreciate the support. Helps us grow as a business. Plus, I love rocking these shirts, the Dub City collection. We've been selling those shirts like crazy, and it allows you to rep your colors, rep your team, put on for the Niners, but also support everything that we're doing here. Words of wisdom, $2. Chase, did you see that Marques Sigle breakdown yet? I did. Marques Sigle, credit to him. Words of wisdom, and thanks for sending me that film breakdown. Started the season as a starter. 5th-round pick out of Kansas State, 4.3 speed, has a cornerback background, and it was impressive that he won the job to start this season. It helped that Malik Mustafa wasn't ready to start the year, but he earned that job. But then he got benched because Robert Saleh thought that he needed to take some time away from being a starter to just get a breather and let the game slow down a little bit. It seemed to have worked. He steps in against the Eagles because Jair Brown hurt his hamstring, and Jair Brown won't play against the Seahawks, and Marques Sigle played great. And the film showed that as well. Words of wisdom. 24 coverage snaps, 40 total snaps, 1 catch allowed, 8 yards. The tackle in space against Devontae Smith. Big time play in a big time moment. Overall grade, 73.4 per PFF. Second highest on the Niners. 69.4 coverage grade. Hell yeah. 7 solo tackles. Led the team. Al, $2 super chat. What's going on with this whole electromagnetic story? So this has become a big topic of conversation on social media and really across the NFL. So John Feliciano was on the radio a long time ago. He was asked about the Niners' injury problems. And he talked about, and people have talked about, strength and conditioning, how the Niners train, their training practices. Obviously, it's been well known that the Niners stretch prior to practices a little bit differently. And of course, this can be a multi-layered issue. There can be multiple reasons why the Niners are suffering from injuries. It can be how they weight train. It can be their weightlifting techniques. It can be their recovery methods. It can be how they practice. All of that can be true. But John Feliciano was on the radio, and he said, yeah, we used to joke as players about the practice field being next to an electrical substation. And nobody really made a big deal of that at the time. But then this year happened, and the Niners continued to suffer from a litany of injuries. They've been top 10 in injury rate every year since 2017 outside of 2023. And so back in October, I put together a tweet, and I showed the map of how the Niners practice facility is next to an electrical substation. And there has been a lot of fascinating data and research into the potential dangers of EMF. And that took off at the time. I got some shit for it. Some people called me a conspiracy theorist, the Alex Jones of content creators. But some doctors and some people who study these things for a living said there could be something behind this because of the impact that EMF can have on soft tissue and collagen. And then Peter Cowan, who is a board-certified physician, I believe, I'm getting that right, put out another report with a whole Twitter thread and a link to his Substack with all of these cited sources talking about the same issue and the impact that EMF can have. He went to the Niners practice field. He measured some of the EMF levels, and they were high according to him. And so this has taken on a life of its own. His tweet then went nuclear for more than 20 million views, and it was quote tweeted by doctors and current and former NFL players. Now the Washington Post has put together an article, and in that Washington Post article, it's a really good read. There are multiple players across the NFL who have reached out to their agents concerned about the dangers of EMF. One agent thinks that the Niners might have to move their practice facility, that this could impact the players who the Niners are able to sign in NFL free agency. And I just think that when you suffer so many injuries, and it's been happening for such a long time, it's fair to question anything at this point. So that's really what that story is all about. Black Mask, $5 super chat. Yeah, you're not allowed to interview for a new job while working at your existing job. Apply that logic. Jesus. Well, it kind of depends on your contract. And in the NFL, there are time periods and time frames in which you can interview for other jobs, but it is structured in a certain way. Alejandro, losing George Kittle in the run game is one of the main concerns, man. No doubt about it. I know that George Kittle catching passes and catching touchdowns and rumbling downfield and breaking tackles and bulldozing guys, it's fun to watch, and he's great at that. And when he was healthy this year, he was playing at an all-pro level, best all-around tight end in the game. That's sexy, right? Run blocking is not sexy, but George Kittle is a damn good run blocker, and he positively impacts the run game. And the Niners don't have another tight end who's close to him as a run blocker. This is where Kyle Juszczyk can be really important given the absence of George Kittle as a blocker, sometimes lining up as the inline tight end. So I agree. Big key to this game and a big loss, leadership-wise and on the field. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Thank you, everybody, for your continued support of everything that we do here on the 49ers Report. You're all the best.